Hello, and welcome back to Emerge, the health podcast for busy, high performing women. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Swenson Ridley. Today, I'm going to share a little bit of a part of my own personal journey that I've been getting questions about. So I figured I'd jump on and actually chat a little bit and just share my experience. If, you listen to the show regularly, you may have heard I interviewed a woman by the name of Eileen Durfee several weeks ago. I meant to look up what episode number it is, but you can Google Eileen or looking for Eileen in the search function and find it. In any case, she was used to be a biochemical engineer, and now she's patented about 19 different US patents for technology to just help you along the road to being more healthy. And I'd asked her a question during that show where, I asked what her number one recommendation would be for, a habit that we should all have or that, makes the biggest difference in our health. And she surprised me by saying daily coffee enemas. And I've known about enemas. I, had even recommended them to some of my patients previous to that, but I'd never actually done them myself. And if you know me, you know that I'm committed to, I never ask anyone to do anything that I haven't tried myself. So this month, and we're in October here, I took on I started as soon as I interviewed her, I ordered the enema kit that she'd actually made because it makes doing it a lot easier. And took the other research and stuff I had and started doing some enemas myself. I wasn't doing them daily. And so in October, I actually really took on this whole idea of doing coffee enemas daily. And I'm going to share a little bit about what that experience has been like for me. I'll try to not to, we're not going to have a gross conversation here today, ladies, but I just want to share, some of the benefit behind it. And also maybe dispel some of I think it's an awkward topic. Let's just be real here. I posted about it on Facebook when I started doing it, and people didn't know what to think. I totally get it. Not all of us want to think about that. But as something that helps with health, has health benefits, it's really key. And so I pulled up some of the learning and research that I've been exposed to in before I started doing coffee enemas, and I just wanted to share a piece of that with you because I found it really interesting and it might just change your perspective on it. But enemas have been around since 1500 BC. That's the first time they find reference to them in ancient Egyptian world. And a Greek physician from the first century thought that ailments could be addressed with the right food, drink, and enemas. So, if you're doing the right food and drinking water and you've never tried the enemas, this might be a time to do that. They came into the Western world actually during World War One, and how this came about was, soldiers were lying on the table dying in lots of pain. World War One was horrific and awful and all the things. I'm kind of a history nerd, so sorry you're not, but nurses would keep coffee pots just going all day long because the nurses were drinking them, the doctors were drinking them, the patients were drinking them. And one day this nurse just happened to she didn't have any water, so she just took cold coffee and put it in the enema bag and gave this guy an enema. And he looked at her a little while later and was like, I don't have as much pain. And so they started actually using it as a natural pain reliever because they didn't have enough drugs available back then. So they started using it as one of the things that they did in part of their protocol to help those who were in lots of pain and they didn't have morphine and all of those things available. Also helps with constipation. But I wanted to just share a little bit about what is the purpose. Why would we do this weird thing, Dr. Alex? Why would we put coffee in the wrong direction? So it's literally what we're doing, but like I said, we're not going to make this awkward. Here's the purposes behind it. They've done lots of research on this, and until 1984, it was actually a recommended thing to help detox the body in the Merck Manual of Medicine. I don't really know why they took it out. I guess because they decided it was too awkward. But anyways, it's been around for a long time. So the first thing that it does is it purges bile from the liver bile ducts, and your bile ducts increase. It also dilates the vessels so that you have an increase in bile flow. Why this is important? 60% of our population has sluggish livers, meaning that bile duct isn't working well. If you're not going poo at least twice a day, like a normal poo, then you have a sluggish liver. We can just assume that. That's kind of especially if you're constipated. And I meet so many women who are constipated. So this can be a way that you can help that start working. It also activates the vagus nerve, which is our part of our gut and brain connection. And so if that's actually activated and working like it's supposed to, you can start to see some cool changes and improvements with, depression, anxiety, a lot of stuff that are more neurological but are also tied to our gut. The big thing, and the thing that I was really, impressed by and have been just excited about, is that it increases our glutathione production by 600 to 700%. And glutathione is one of the primary detoxifying agents of the body, and you cannot increase it like that in any other way. You can't take a supplement that's going to do that. You can't do anything. And so there's this thing called palmitic acid that's in certain types of coffee that, causes that to happen. Pretty cool. It decreases pain and it can help expel parasites and empty your colon. So all cool stuff, right? And I've talked on the show, one of our most popular episodes was actually talking about doing parasite cleanses, and that's something that I do with my clients and have done myself. And another journey that we can go on. I'll put links to both these episodes, previous episodes that I'm mentioning on this episode as well, if you want to go do a little more learning and research about it. But like I said, I took on doing this daily because Eileen Durfee was like, I feel great. She has some of the best blood work, like even better than Dr. Oz. She shared about that on the show. And, she's been doing this for years. So I was like, okay, like I won't ask anybody to do anything I haven't tested myself. So I'm recording this on October 25th. So it's been almost a month that I've been doing daily coffee enemas. And at this point, and I'll share a little bit about what the process looks like, but the things I've really noticed is there has been some stuff that's come out of me that I haven't seen since I did an intense parasite cleanse. And so I think I'm still getting out some flukes and some, other things that just live in our guts and, we need to get rid of them. Nothing's still alive, but, there's been stuff I've seen in the toilet. And I'm one of those weird people who looks, right? Not everybody's like that. My energy has been like super stable and awesome. I've continued on a weight loss. I haven't been actively trying as hard to lose weight because I've kind of hit this point where I'm comfortable, but still have a little bit of weight, I could lose or should lose. And so that's been steadily coming down. Like I said, my energy's super stable throughout the day. I'm not a coffee drinker and never will be, never have been. I made it through 8 years of higher education without going down that road. But the way that the caffeine interacts in your body when it goes in the other direction is actually completely different from when you drink coffee. So I don't, get jittery or have any of those experiences either. And, I just feel like my digestive function is better. I haven't been needing as many supplements. I do muscle testing with everything I take. And like a lot of the stuff I was taking for my thyroid and for estrogen balance and a few other things I haven't needed them. When I test, it's like, no, you're good. You don't need that. Even vitamin D, I've needed less of. And I've had I think 2 cycles doing they kind of, one came right away and one came a little bit later. My cycles have been a little shorter, which has been interesting. I'm just observing that because that's been the case for a lot of women. Totally different topic, but I haven't had as bad a cramping. I haven't had the headaches and the weird stuff. So just like overall, I'm feeling a lot better. And the latest thing, and this is going to be gross, so I'm sorry if you don't want to listen, just plug your ears for 1 second. But the latest thing is, I've noticed some like biofilm and mucousy stuff coming out, which is all stuff like we don't want in our gut at all. All right. So I've been impressed and pleasantly surprised by this whole process. So you might have questions like, what the heck do I do? What kind of coffee do I use? What does this look like? How long does it take? All of those things. And I have a guide that I put together. And when I first posted it on Facebook, like no one was interested. And now that I started talking about it more, like more and more people have said they want to download it. So I will also put a link to that in the show notes. But some of the things to know, here's what the process looks like. Like I've gotten into a habit, everything we have to make a new habit with. And part of why I didn't start doing them daily at first was because, I have to grind the dang coffee beans. I had to buy everything. I'm not a coffee drinker and my husband uses a Keurig. So like I had to buy a grinder and I had to buy a French press and I had to, get coffee and all this stuff. But now that I have a system, it's not that bad. So I make my coffee in the evening before and let it steep and do all that stuff. That way it's cool and the right temperature in the morning. And there's some things I actually add to it to make it easier. And there's been some research that's been done. The company I use for parasite cleansing, they actually do quite a bit of training, continuing education for us as providers. And one of the things that they shared is they did their own research on how to make coffee enemas more effective. And they found, so there's a couple things, adding organic molasses, and you have to be really particular about the quality of stuff that you're using for this because we're trying to clean the body out, right? So we don't want to use crummy coffee or crummy stuff. But I put a tablespoon of organic molasses in my 4 cups of coffee solution. And that helps with the process of holding it, because you put some stuff in and then you hold, ideally for 20 minutes, at least 12, to get the benefits of, the detoxifying part of it. So we do that. And then, so I add the molasses. When it's cool, I add some trace minerals from Cellcore specifically, but called CT minerals, and then hydroxygen, which is something that actually helps your cells absorb stuff a lot more quickly. So it goes in really fast and just makes it more effective. And what they found doing that research was that it was like 90% more effective with people when they did it that way. So I do that. I do it in two batches. So it takes about 40 minutes. But what I like about it is I have my schedule set up so that in the morning I wake up and I kind of spend some time not on Facebook and not checking email, but reading or, doing something that sparks my creative juices or flow for the day, or just like helps me kind of ease into the day without being stressed. And so I take, I do my first batch, hold it for 20 minutes. I lay back down with my kid and cuddle and, do whatever that is for 20 minutes, gently let it out, and then do the rest. You kind of divide the 4 cups into two rounds. And so that's what that looks like. So it's just become part of my morning routine. And I feel good when I wake up and I have the energy, and it's like now my body craves it, and we're about to travel. And I know I'm not going to be able to do it every day because we're going to be doing a road trip for part of that. And I'm like, so I'll test and kind of get back to you. Like, what's it like without it after having it every day for so long? So that's kind of what that looks like. And again, just to recap, this isn't some like weird hokey thing, right? It's been around for years and been found to really have a lot of health benefits. So if you're someone like, I've known people whose headaches have gotten better, like their daily migraines, or they don't have as much pain around their cycle, or other chronic pains that they were dealing with have improved. Their energy has stabilized, and not from a caffeine infusion, but from, the body just being able to clean itself and detoxify and get stuff out. And they've also been able to get stuff out. Another thing I'm going to be testing and trying, well, we're gone, we're going to be in California where they actually have this available, but it's hydrocolon therapy. And in a couple of weeks I have a episode coming out with a dude, actually the first guy who's ever been on the show, but we talk about that as part of our discussion. And so I'm going to actually test that out. That's where they go in and gently just wash your colon and kind of get any, people have lost up to 27 pounds of just like old compacted fecal material that hasn't been coming out. It's disgusting to think about, but this is in the day and age we live in with so many chemicals, so many toxins, our food's not being great quality, the stress in our lives, like we're not pooping like we should, all of this stuff. This is the kind of stuff that we see happen, which I personally think is pretty cool. So in wrapping that up, if you want to increase your level of detox, if you've been stuck a while, like, you're eating well and you're doing the things, but you're not pooping like you should, or you stopped losing weight, or, you feel like you're just still toxic for some reason, your energy isn't great, all of those are reasons to test this. And I really would commit to it and give it like at least 2 weeks doing it every day. That's what I originally said. I was like, I'll try this for 2 weeks and we'll just see, because I wasn't sure about doing something like that every single day. And what I found is like my body's just like, yes, we like this, let's keep doing it. And there are things to make it easier. Some of the things I didn't share is, and this can be a little bit overwhelming, like a lot of the research shows that in order to get the palmitic acid in the coffee where it really needs to be in the liver bile duct, you have to get the straw or the tube in 6 inches. That can be overwhelming for people. So Eileen Durfee, who I interviewed, she actually designed what's called a standing enema kit. And so it actually has a pump on it. So rather than being a gravity release thing, you're able to pump, so you don't actually have to get the tube in quite so far. And she has there's different attachments and things that come with it. So I found that helpful and cool, and also, time saving and all of those things. There's an enema guide in the show notes if you want to download it. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. That guide has links to, the Eileen Durfee's enema kit, the thing with the pump. It has links to the different supplements and things, the trace minerals and the hydroxygen that I put in there, links to the type of molasses, links to different coffees you can try. That's one thing I didn't talk about. I have primarily used, largely because shipping has been weird to Alaska lately, there are coffee specific or enema specific coffees, we should say, and they tend to be a lighter roast. And what I've actually found is I've been experimenting with light, medium, and dark, and I actually find the dark roast to be more effective. You just want to be really cautious of how it's roasted and what the quality of coffee is. Like you want to look for local stuff if you can. Maybe you have a local coffee place that actually roasts their own beans. Like that's ideal, and they're ideally organic and not polluted with stuff. But there are, like, we have a health food store here in Fairbanks in Alaska where they have actual local coffee, which we don't have much of in Alaska, but it's local, it's organic, they're like really specific on their process, and you just want to find something you can trust essentially with that. But with that, I also have links to some of the enema specific coffees that you can test out and try. I will just share that I found the dark roast has actually been a lot more effective, but I'm still changing it up, mixing it up, seeing what else I can find and what else is out there. So, with all that, you have now the tools and resources to take the coffee enema challenge. My kid's always talking about challenges. Maybe we should make a coffee enema challenge. And just see how you feel. We've got to be willing to try new things. Lube, also important on the tube. I use coconut oil. Something that's clean and not gonna, you need lube. We'll just put it that way. That's all I'm going to say about that. But, you have everything that you need to take this on. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be hard. It's, it's actually a pretty easy process once you get into it and get going. So let me know, reach out if you are going to join me in taking the coffee enema challenge. Woo! I'd love to hear your experience. We can talk in private. It doesn't have to be a public thing. And if you have any questions, please reach out as well. My email, dralex@emergentwomencoaching.com. And with that, we will see you next week.